Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Armchair Booking Wrestling Podcast. I'm your host. My name is Steve Barber, and joining me as always is my absolutely fantastic co-host, Waylon Davis.
Hey, everybody.
And we have an absolute treat because if you can look down on the bottom part of the screen, joining us is the man, Marcus Alexander Buff Bagwell.
I'm Buff, and I am the stuff.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much for coming on. I mean,
Thank you.
Yes,
Absolutely.
this is absolutely.
Thank you, guys.
Oh man. So how you been?
Good, man. Real good.
Yeah. So I saw right before we started recording, you had some crutches. What'd you do there?
Say again now.
I know you walked in. You had some crutches.
Oh, I had about a car wreck about a year ago, dude. So.
Okay. I did know about the car wreck.
Yeah. So just trying to get over that. It's just it flames up here and there. It's like after I come off a trip. Usually, it's like it wouldn't bother me at all. I was all crutches yesterday, totally, and but then when I walk up through a bunch of airports and stuff, it just kills me, dude. So.
Oh, yeah.
So,
oh man. So, I'm just like absolutely tickled. I'm trying to think about the best questions. I hope I don't sound like a fanboy Mark or anything like that. Because that was one thing, Dwayne and I said, whenever we interview Buff, let's make sure we don't sound like, so, but I guess we want to kind of start with some like early questions of your career. So you were discovered by Missy Hyatt?
Yeah. Missy was, I was at a apartment complex called Popper Place Apartments. She was actually still married to hot stuff Eddie Gilbert at the time. And I look over the pool, way across, like, a couple hundred yards away, and see, this, big boob, blonde haired chick that was hot, and I was like, damn, she was good, but I couldn't hear him speaking or anything. Well, the agent that was checking her, that was helping Missy, did not know who I was and didn't know I was married, and neither did Missy, of course. So I come back from the pool and trying to figure out what I'm gonna do with my life, because I had my parents. I grew up in a very wealthy family, thank God, and had a blast doing it. But they went broke in 1988, which was my senior year, which would have been where I would have gone to work.
Yeah.
So my brothers blew it for me. They had a hoot, they had a great time and blew it for me. So I actually, believe it or not, went to the Atlanta School of Massage. That's what so I'm a true licensed massage therapist.
Cool.
And but how do you know what to say to you that you want to do at 18 years old? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So my brother picked a gym. My middle brother picked a drywall company, and because my dad was like, he was going broke. And then at 18, I go, I thought maybe massage therapy. I thought maybe, with my looks and my personality and everything, I thought maybe I could make some real good money, doing that, and also you go into sports medicine and stay in the sports world and do maybe some kind of sports trainer, or there was several options back then with massage therapy. And so that's what I chose. And so I come back from the pool, and she was checking into her room, and I thought, normally, I guess if I'd been a little older or a little smarter, I'd been like, wait a minute, what's the odds on that? But I didn't even think two thoughts about it. I was just like, that's weird. God, that's how ironic is what I thought. And so she, I move in. She's moving in. I go inside my apartment. And later on that evening, she knocks on the door. And I look out the peephole, see it's her, open the door. my wife's there. She comes inside and she tells the whole truth. She goes, "You're not going to believe this." She says, "But I saw your husband at the pool today." She said, "And I thought, God, that's a good looking guy, man. He should be like a wrestler, you know?" And so she was like, she was, you know who I am, right? And we were like, "Sorry, we don't, because we did the same thing I've heard 10 million times," is what we said to her. And I've heard it 10 million, I guess, pay me back, I guess. But the 10 million things is, I watched when I was younger, but I ain't watched in a long time. That's exactly what I said. And I bet you I've been told that 10 million times since then. So, she goes on to tell us, the story of what happened. And then she was just kind of embarrassed and nice to meet us. And she goes, "But really, you should really think about, getting in the business." And I said, "Those guys don't make no money." And she goes, "Our lowest paid guy makes $100,000 a year." I said, "You want to go over that one more time?" I said, "I'm sorry, I didn't quite hear you there. Maybe one more time." And so she told me, and I was like, wow, so here I am, all county, all state, football, baseball, and wrestling. Can do anything. I really could. I was a super athlete, super good at everything I did when I was a kid. I was just a good athlete. I could do anything. Loved the camera as a kid. Always was, my brothers were always hiding from the camera, and I'd always be right in front of it, I was just made to be a wrestler, but didn't think nothing about it, So I go to wrestling school, and my first wife, she's all excited. She was like, "Oh my God." She goes, "Oh my God, you can do anything, so this is going to be great. We're going to be making $100,000 a year." She always counting the money.
Right.
And I said, "Well, baby," I said, "let's don't get too far ahead of ourselves here. This is a pretty big deal. This is not easy to get into, I'm sure. It was so easy to get into, everybody be doing it."
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so I go down to this is when there was no power plant. There was no school. Wow. Nobody had a school. There was no schools, and you just knew people and got in the business is how it worked. And how we had it was Jody Hamilton had a little bitty warehouse with Sergeant Buddy Lee Parker, Sarge, and they had a warehouse down in Griffin, Georgia, which is kind of like South Atlanta, and I live on I'm on the north side, so it was about an hour drive for me. So I drove down there, and of all people, Kevin Nash comes walking in. He's getting trained there too. And me and Kevin were actually really good friends, because Kevin was like the big badass bouncer of Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
And I was the rich, young, pretty boy of Atlanta. So, I was extremely popular, and he was 7 foot, 350, extremely popular, and trying to get into wrestling. And so I see him in the ring and everything, and we said hello and all that stuff. Well, I said, "Well, how much is it?" and all that. And they said $3,000. I said, $3,000? And it was just a shit. Just a crap hole, bro. It was horrible. The ring was just horrible, literally it was almost like a hole was in the middle of it.
Oh,
you ran the ropes. If you ran the ropes, you'd like run down into a hole.
Almost like a trampoline or something.
Yeah, it was worse than a trampoline. It was a trampoline that was sagging in the middle. And so I was like, $3,000 for that? And the guy goes, you're not even, Sarge goes, you're not even big enough to wrestle. And I was about 225 at the time. I mean, keep thinking about it. Pull up a picture of the Handsome Stranger, bro. I was jacked.
Yeah, I do remember the Handsome Stranger way back in the day.
And that was right after this. So I was super jacked and 225, and I was skinny as a rail when I started putting weight on. So everything was muscle. So I had a real good physique. And I said, what do you mean I'm not big enough? I said, I'm bigger than Brian Pillman. And he goes, well, Brian Pillman's a good wrestler. And I go, and how the heck do you know I'm not a good wrestler? And he goes, well, it kind of cornered him. So he's like, well, it's regardless, it's $3,000 and, blah, 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 blah. So I didn't have $3,000. And so I drive back home to Missy. And I said, Missy, I go, look, they want $3,000. I said, it was in a dump. She goes, I know, but you got to that's how they do it in this business. And she really did, take my career a lot further than it should have gone. Just because the way I looked, she knew they were going to hate my guts. She knew I was going to have a ton of heat no matter what I did. And so she really taught me all the walk in, shake hands, say hello to everybody. So doing all that, which was me anyway. That was kind of guy I was, just being a Southern boy from a Southern family. I was extremely polite anyway. So really, her training plus my attitude anyway, being a nice kid, it worked, And so she goes, well, I know another guy named Steve the Brawler Lawler, which actually just recently passed away from COVID.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Daryl Gower was his real name. And he looked like Jerry the King Lawler a little bit. So he went off that with Steve the Brawler Lawler. And so long story short, he trained me for $1,500. So I get somebody to loan me $1,500, and I go to wrestling school. So now back to the first play I told you about, my wife being all excited.
Right.
Now she's all, oh my God, this is great. You're gonna do phenomenal. Oh my God. I came back home. And she was all excited. She goes, how'd it go? I said, I'm not going back. And she goes, what? I said, baby, this is the hardest thing I've ever done in my entire life. I said, and I'm smart enough to have already went over with Missy, like how many days a week they do this and how many times a month they do it. And the travel schedules and the planes, trains, and automobiles and all that. I said, baby, I said, this is a big deal. I said, and plus that, I said, I'm crippled. I said, I'm literally crippled from the very first night. Some reason, I don't know why, I went back. And he was that was back when you were real rough on guys that were trying to make it. The guy that trained you always roughed you up a little bit and try to see what you had, what you're made of, so you wouldn't walk away going wrestling's fake and all that stuff,
Right.
And so we go through the whole thing. Well, about halfway through the thing, he hits me with a clothesline that takes my head off.
And this is the first day, or the second day.
This is the second day.
Okay.
I've gone back.
Okay.
I decided to go back, and he hits me with a clothesline that just about breaks my jaw. So when we did something else while we were working, when he was showing me stuff, I was catching on real quick. I I've done everything, and just like Tanya, my wife, said, she knew I could probably do it, so that's why she was excited. And so I hit him with a clothesline right across the face, just as hard as I could. And after that, he eased off of me, backed off, because he said, you've actually got it. He said, there's no doubt. He said, you've got what it can take. You got what it takes. You got the right look. You can already do this. You can already do a perfect arm drag. Your drop kick's the best I think I've ever seen in my life. I mean, you're a natural. You've got it. And so he backed off with me a little bit. And so I went back home and I told her, I said, I'm gonna give it a shot. She was like, oh, all right, you know. So I give it a shot and I signed a deal for WCW that made me $500 a week to go to wrestling school. That was my first contract. And I was thrilled, you know, $500 a week, and you get to go to wrestling school, and I got my foot's in the door, you know.
Right.
So during this, back up. Before that is when I was noticed from Steve the Brawler Lawler, and I was called the Fabulous Fabian, was my very first wrestling name.
Yeah, doing some research, I saw that was
Fabulous
a
Fabian.
wrestling name. Yeah.
And Joe Pedicino is who named me. The big, gigantic, fat guy, but he was just a super nice guy. And he was married to Bonnie Blackstone.
I remember her.
I do remember her. Yeah.
And Bonnie Blackstone and Missy Hyatt were best friends.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
And believe it or not, Bonnie Blackstone and Joe Pedicino were married.
I knew that too.
Big, gigantic, fat guy and that good-looking chick were married. And so, long story short, they very first match, just like my whole career went, very first match, they just dumped the heat right on me. They made me the world heavyweight champion. Very first match. Here I am. I've had about two or three wrestling classes, and they make me the world heavyweight champion. And I can't even run the ropes, hardly. You know, I'm still trying to learn how to run the business, do the business. But all of a sudden, I realized I can't figure this out. I'm having a hard time figuring this out. I mean, and I couldn't believe it. I said, I'd get back in the car after a show, and me and my wife wouldn't talk for like 10 minutes. And I'd go, what is it? What am I doing wrong? Why can't I do this? You know? And she goes, I've never seen you not be able to do anything. I'm just blown away. She said, I'm just blown away. You can't do it. She was and it was just hard. We didn't talk. We wrestled at skating rinks, and you got two green guys that got in the ring and tried to call a match. And it was absolutely horrible. Horrible. It was the most horrendous, horrible thing you've ever seen in your life. Well, during this process, I was still kind of learning, but not really. And then they opened up Global, and I became the handsome stranger. And then when I did that, we show up at the building one day, the first day, and I walk in the locker room, and the good guys and the bad guys are all in the same locker room. And I go, I said, wait a second. Wait a second. You mean y'all can talk before you go out? And they go, yeah. I go, oh my God. So I went from instantly about a 2 on a scale of 1 to 10 wrestler to about an 8.
Wow.
Because
But you could actually talk to people. Yeah.
You can talk to the guy a little bit, map out some things. And make it an angle and make a storyline and make a match. You know, where before we didn't do it. We couldn't do that. So so I got real good real fast because it was a bunch of great talent like Hot Stuff Eddie Gilbert. And the Patriot was out there, X-Pac was out there.
When he was the Lightning Kid. I remember that.
Yep.
Harlem Heat was out there. Tugboat, a lot of old timers. I just learned a lot out there. I learned a lot and really learned the business out there. And that's where I got hired from WCW from. They saw me from there. So they hired me for $500 to go to wrestling school. And the very first day wrestling school, the very first day, blew his knee out, and we need somebody to cover him. And Buddy Lee Parker goes, well, Bagwell can do it. I mean, he's actually really good. And so they put me on the road, and that was it, bro. I mean, that was it. From that point on, it was just, I was on the board. I knew I had my chance, and I took it over and did good, and it worked, you know. So, but I was making $500 a week, so I'm losing money.
Right.
I'm losing money because it costs $100 a day on the road. That's the minimum you can make any money. And so I'm losing money. So I come back home and I go, guys, y'all got to pay me some money, man. I can't live on this. So my very first contract was $150,000, and I was 19.
Ooh.
So I'm making $100,000 as a handsome stranger. I'm 19 years old. And so getting the business keeps going. But Dusty Rhodes hired me. And he wanted to name me Marcus Alexander Bagwell. And I was like, Dusty, you've got to be kidding me. That's horrible. I said, how am I going to get Marcus Alexander Bagwell over? I said, that's impossible. I said, you can't do that, dude. Brother. I mean, you got Johnny B. Bad with the gun and Van Hammer with the guitar, and everybody had gimmicks, you know. And so I said, how am I going to get Marcus Alexander Bagwell over? Well, they came up with, he just said, he goes, I'm telling you, son, he goes, as good looking as you are, he goes, with them pretty teeth. He said, them pretty teeth you got. He said, Marcus Alexander Bagwell was a rookie. He said, you'll make it just fine, baby, I promise. Well, the angle they came up with for me was everybody that Sting wrestled, because I could do all of the moves and do them good. And I looked good. So when the guy beat me, he was beating at least a guy that looked good, that was in shape. And, you know, like even with, like, I had title matches with Rick Rude as a rookie because I was in shape. I looked good and I could do all the moves. Right. And they got a good victory instead of just a victory over nobody. So, but I lost every match. So what they did is they put me against every person that Sting was going to wrestle for the world title. And they'd always beat my brains out, and Sting would come out and make the save. So it did two things for me. Here it puts me, remember the Dangerous Alliance?
Oh, yeah.
Love the Dangerous Alliance. Yeah.
Steve Austin, Larry Zbyszko, Bobby Eaton, Rick Rude.
Yep.
I mean, Arn Anderson, all of Paulie Dangerously. Yep. He had the cell phone, remember?
Oh, yeah, the big old brick.
All that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it worked. And it got me over instantly because I'm rubbing elbows with all these stars. So it got me over too, you know? Even though I was getting beat up, it still showed the young rookie trying to
Right.
beat up Big Van Vader, even though he beat my brains out and Sting would come save me. But it tied me and Sting together, and Sting was the hottest thing going, you know.
Hey, I remember he was.
So it really got me over at the same time. And then one night I wrestled Chris Benoit and had no earthly idea what I was doing. Didn't know he was actually calling the moves that we were doing. He was actually calling them, like the name of them, like fish out of water and something else and this and that. And I go, dude, I said, your best bet is just to show me what you want me to do, and I can do it, and I'll remember it, and I'll do it good. I said, but don't tell me the names. I don't know the name. I don't know this business like that. I said, I didn't get trained that long, and I'm very green, but I'm good. I said, I can do this. So we go out and have a match, and it happens to be about a 9 on a scale of 1 to 10. Maybe one of my best matches ever.
Wow.
And we get back from the back, and Dusty Rhodes comes charging out of the go position room, and he goes, Bagwell. He goes, why didn't you tell me you could wrestle? I said, well, Dan, I said, well, I just assumed you knew I could wrestle, or why would you hire me? I said, are you kidding? He goes, no, I mean, I'm talking about, why didn't you tell me you could wrestle like that? And I said, dude, I just assumed y'all knew, and I didn't know what to say. And hey, I'm great at this. You know, I didn't want to do that because I was taught better in this business not to do that. And so I just kept my mouth shut and kept doing what I was told to do. And then, believe it or not, Big Van Vader is who put me and Too Cold together. He said, why don't you put him and Too Cold are good friends? And he goes, why don't you put him and Too Cold together? They put us together in the very first year. We were tag team of the year, and I was rookie of the year.
I remember that. I remember watching y'all tag together.
Yeah, I was rookie of the year and tag team of the year in the same year. So from that point, it was just straight up, rocket ship. And I became the tag team master, bro. And I just became very good at it. And I am still, I say this on every podcast I do, I am, and I challenge anybody out there that wants to ask, because I haven't been proved wrong yet, but I'm the only 6-time world tag team champion with 5 different partners. The only
wow.
The only one. And let me ask you, how much do you think Lex Luger wrestles like Too Cold Scorpio?
About to say that they're total.
Yeah. How much do you think Scotty Riggs and Scott Norton wrestle alike? Not at all.
Right.
So, but I didn't realize what it was doing for me. It was making me a better wrestler.
Right.
Because I was having to adapt to fit into Dale Wilkes and Riggs and Lex Luger and Too Cold, all these different type wrestlers that I was having to adjust my wrestling style to make a world tag team champion out of it.
Right.
And it made me a really good tag team wrestler, plus a really good wrestler, period. It just gave me a lot of good practice.
You were tag team champions with Shane Douglas also, weren't you?
That was the last one. That was the last one. It was Too Cold Scorpio. It was, the reason why it's 6 and 5 is because I did it twice with Dale Wilkes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I did Too Cold Scorpio was the first one. Then it was me and Dale Wilkes twice. And then it was let's see, then it was Luger. No, then it was it was Too Cold Scorpio, Dale Wilkes, Dale Rips, Scotty Riggs, Lex Luger, Shane Douglas.
Yep.
Wow.
So 6 with 5.
Mm-hmm.
And with 6 with 5 people.
Right.
And nobody's ever done that. Ever. And so I ain't got no trophy for it. I ain't got no raise for it. But I think it's pretty cool that nobody's ever done it. And that's a pretty big deal.
Well, I was going to say in my notes, I actually have he has proven to be adept at either singles or tag teams.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I mean, I think that's fantastic.
I always thought it was a great thing, but not. I bet you. I know for a fact I've never one time been put over for it. Not one time. Not one time have I ever been, congratulated for it. It been brought up. Told congratulations, gave a trophy for it, any kind of award. I mean, nothing for it. But that's a pretty big deal, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm proud of it. Let's put it that way. And so I brag on it a lot because it's a big deal to me. And that's just kind of, just kind of kept taking off from there. And I just became just the tag team guru. I just really was I was really good at coming up with tag team moves and finishes and spots, and to the point where I'd be wrestling. Here I was, a complete rookie, wrestling Scotty and Rick Steiner, and I'd call the whole match.
Mm-hmm.
And they'd be like, that sounds good to me. It was like nobody wanted to speak up. So I was like, well, what about this? And I'd speak up and come up with different moves and things we could do and stuff. Because me and Scorpio taught me a lot. And so from Scorpio, me tagging, I learned so much that I just became a really good tag team wrestler.
Mm-hmm.
And it was easier to become a name as a tag team wrestler than it was a single wrestler, because think how many stars there were single.
Yeah.
And think how many great tag teams they were.
Mm-hmm.
Well, obviously, I got a record with 6 and 5. So obviously there wasn't as many great tag teams as there were single guys.
Right.
So it was easier to be known, to get noticed. And that's why I stayed with the tag team stuff. And and I liked it, and I was good at it.
I always liked watching you and Scott Norton as a team.
The only reason we didn't make it was, you may not remember this, but that's when I broke my neck.
Yes. I remember that.
In fact, we was in a match, Vicious and Delicious, against Lex Luger and Rick Steiner.
Mm-hmm.
And it was one of our very first matches as Vicious and Delicious. And Rick broke my neck.
Yeah, with that bulldog he was doing off the second rope, wasn't it?
The bulldog.
Mm-hmm.
With the bulldog.
Yeah. Yeah, because I remember seeing that. Even now, I mean, when I've seen that footage, it still makes me kind of cringe. I'm like,
yeah.
It was a big deal. It was a big deal, and he didn't mean to do it. It was just an accident. Right. It's a move you made 1,000 times, but that's a hard move to take, because you got a guy 280 pounds coming from behind you.
Yeah.
And you can't see him coming.
Right.
So you're having to. He's got to grab you.
Yeah.
Right.
But he misses me. If you watch it back, he misses me.
Yeah.
And when he missed me, I tried to catch up to him, because keep in mind, it was live, brother.
Yeah.
Right.
So if you look stupid, you look stupid live.
Yeah.
I didn't want to look stupid ever. So I try to catch up to him. When I do, he hits the mat. And when he does, he bounces back into my face.
Ooh.
And my neck goes that way.
Yeah. Snap your head back. Yeah.
That's why they always say, tuck your head.
Mm-hmm.
Tuck your head, because your neck can go this way a long ways, but your neck can't go that way very far at all, brother.
Yeah.
So it was that way. When you watch it back, you see it go boom, when it was in slow motion. And
Mhm.
I mean, just instantly I went, I'm paralyzed. It wasn't no maybe. It wasn't no you're gonna be okay, buddy.
Mhm.
As soon as he hit me, I went, oh my God, I'm paralyzed. I mean, I knew it. I mean, you're talking about a guy that's been all county, all state in football, baseball, played sports my whole life, was the youngest of 3 boys, constantly getting beat up.
Mhm.
I had at least 15 assault and batteries by the age of 19, kicked out of high school about 20 times for fighting. So this ain't my first rodeo. And I knew that it was, I knew I was hurt and it was bad.
Right.
And so the only feeling I could think of because I'd never felt this feeling, I said, I've got to be paralyzed. It's paralyzed. I'm paralyzed. And so sure enough, they're taping me down and everything. And I'm in my mind for 11 minutes, I'm paralyzed. But what medically happened was when I hit Rick, my neck swelled at 3-4 because that's where I broke my neck is at 3-4.
Okay.
Mhm.
When I broke it, it swelled. And when it swells, you don't know it, but you feel like you're 100% paralyzed because the swelling has allowed you not to be able to move anything.
Mhm.
And then, so 2 hours later, they CAT scanned me. I'm on the board with the duct tape across my forehead, the whole 9 yards, in Columbia, South Carolina. And they take me to the hospital, everything. Well, the doctor walks in and goes, sit up. And I go, what? He goes, sit up. So they're taking the tape and everything off of me and everything. And I kind of just start, keep in mind, you're paralyzed, bro. I was just paralyzed 2 hours ago, totally paralyzed. And I went, what now? And so I get up and I start moving kind of slow and everything. And just, and I kind of scoot over to the side of the bed and let my feet off the bed. And I kind of stand up slowly, and I feel like I'm completely 100% normal.
Mhm.
And long story short, it was just instead of it severing, instead of my cervical disc, it hit my cord. And instead of hitting my cord and severing it and paralyzing me, it hit my cord and bruised it.
Mhm.
And so what medically had really happened to me was I bruised my cervical disc at 3-4 and 6-7. So they had to go in. Back then, the cadaver thing wasn't happening. Back then, there was some doctors that did the cadaver and some doctors didn't. And most of them didn't. Because just think about it for a minute. Is your bone going to heal with your bone better? Or is your bone going to heal better with somebody else's bone?
Good point.
It's going to
Yeah.
look, it's going to feel better with your bone. So, but it's so brutal of what they got to do that they try not to do the cadaver because they have to shave off part of your hip.
Mhm.
And I was 6 weeks getting over that. For 6 weeks, I'm walking around with not even a neck brace on, and people and me limping, and people going, "What's wrong?" And I go, "Well, I broke my neck and I'm limping." And they're like, "You broke your neck? Why the hell are you limping?" And I go, "Well, I mean, they got to take bone off here, and you got to explain it all, But
Yeah.
Right.
this is brutal. To this day, I can't touch my hip without it making me kind of.
Mhm.
It's just a real funky feeling, and it just it's just real edgy and funny feeling, So, but that's that's the story. And they, you know, I came back from it, and I was back on TV in 3 months, and my first match back was in 10. And when I say back in 10, I was back in 10 like Buff Bagwell. I was back shredded and ripped in 10 months.
Was that when you turned on Rick, or you attacked Rick Steiner? You came out of the wheelchair?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
That was good stuff.
Yeah, it was good stuff.
Yeah.
And I could have been one of the biggest baby faces on the face of the planet.
Yeah.
And instead they turned me heel, dude. And I was like, God damn.
I was gonna ask.
That right there could have put me with The Rock or anybody. That one little move. Instead, I mean, don't get me wrong, I had a great run as a heel too, but they could have really did good things with me as a baby face, man. I mean, I had 10,000 fan letters, dude, where Desert Storm fighter pilots were touching my picture before going to battle.
Wow.
Stuff like that, bro. I mean, we were getting fan letters that make you cry. And instead of going with the fans, we totally screw them, and I become with NWO. And it just, you know, it's what Eric Watts is what Eric Bischoff wanted. But, you know, and it, you know, I told mom and dad, I go, hey, look, guys, it ain't up to me. You know, I can't.
I'm doing what the boss tells me to do.
Yeah, I'm making $750,000 a year. I think I'm just going to do what he says to do.
Right.
What do you think?
What were you going to ask, Waylon?
I was going to ask before you said that it was, you know, the company's decision. I was going to ask what made you turn heel and join the NWO, but you said it was
now we know
a booking decision. So
it was dead against. I mean, we were convinced that they were going to turn me babyface and have me be the next big babyface and give me a big run. And I mean, think about it. I really broke my neck on national TV. You could have had at least a year run with me and Rick.
Yep.
At least a year angle. And instead, he beats me in my first match back at the Ding Dong.
I remember
how many
that.
guys get hurt like that and lose their first match back? Nobody. But they beat me my first match back. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me, man. Come on. So long story short, that just ended that angle, totally ended it. An angle that could have been a year-long good one, and they turned me heel. So everything that we didn't want, they did, but still, you know, to be a good baby face, you got to be a great heel. Be a good heel, you got to be a great baby face. So
yeah,
they both work together. You know, they both work out, you know, the same way. You gotta be great at one before you're great at the other one anyway.
Right.
So it really didn't make that big a difference to me anyway. It was I had fun being a heel, and I made a good one. I thought I was entertaining and funny, and it worked. And but the long and the short of it was I just preferred tag team, and that's why I really enjoyed doing tag team wrestling.
Well, actually, I think one of the best things you did as a heel, because you know you're saying you're so good at it. And there was a guy, because I was in the Air Force once upon a time when the guy I was stationed with in Maryland. He would always do an imitation of you at work. You go, whoa, 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 and he just flex. I'm like, yeah. I'm like, that's awesome.
They tried for 6 months to get me to quit talking into the camera, and I'd always say, okay, and I'd go out and talk right in the camera.
But that was one of the best parts of the gimmick. It's like
that was the gimmick.
Yeah, it's like we knew when Buff comes out, Buff's going to say something in the camera,
right?
A few times during the match.
Not only that, and every camera I saw.
Yeah.
I'd be in the middle of the ring and talking into the camera.
Yeah, it would crack me up when you would like look in the camera and you'd like smooth your
eyebrows
down.
Oh yeah. I mean, I had it. It was great. Finally, the suits finally came down and got all the agents off of me and said, you let Bagwell talk in the camera as much as he wants, because they knew it was good.
Yeah, it was working.
Obviously, they were getting good ratings from it.
Mhm.
So, but I mean, I didn't understand why I didn't understand why everybody didn't do it. You got 30,000 people here, okay? And you got 20 million right here.
Mm-hmm.
Where are you gonna go?
Right.
I'm gonna go right here.
Yeah.
I'm going for the 20 million.
Yeah.
And I think that's what got me over. I really do. I think that's part of the reason of me getting over. And people recognizing me so much and knowing me and laughing at the things I would say. 'Cause I'd say funny stuff, and I'd say stuff like, look at me, I said, do you think I just woke up and looked like this? There's a plan to look like this, brother. I just have funny things. I didn't never write down anything. It was all just ad lib, everything I've ever said. The only interview I ever wrote down was the one I imitated when I imitated Scott Steiner. And that was the best interview I've ever done in my entire life, where I wore his blonde wig out.
Yeah.
Did the beard, dyed, all that. He had dogged me the week before.
Yeah.
And so I went out and dogged him back out, and it was good. It was a good interview. But on that one, I wrote it down and practiced it, but it was a good interview.
Right.
When I got to the back from that one, after I did that interview, I got to the back. Luger meets me at the go position. He goes, hide. I went, what? He goes, hide, brother. Hide. I mean, Scotty was ripping locker rooms apart over that. But Eric, of course, loved it, because Eric goes, now we get to put Bagwell against, Steiner. This is great. So the next match was me against Scotty, and then put the Steiner Brothers back together.
Okay.
Rick come out right when I was getting ready to hit Scotty with the blockbuster, and he hands me a chair, like, hit him with a chair. So I go to hit him with a chair, and Rick hits me with a chair, and it puts the Steiner Brothers back together.
Speaking of the blockbuster, that's one of the moves that Joel and I, we've actually talked about, like finishing moves, and that's one of our favorite moves to watch somebody do.
And I like how a lot of guys are using it as a high spot now.
Yeah, and that's something else we mentioned too.
Yeah, we mentioned that too. We were talking about that the other day.
It's kind of like Jake with the DDT. Nobody remotely touched the DDT for how many years?
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden, they're using it as a high spot. And guys are doing my blockbuster as a high spot now, and it looks pretty good. I like it. And they call it the blockbuster.
Yeah. Yep.
They don't call it the Buff blockbuster.
Yeah.
they do call it the blockbuster.
So which one did you prefer, that one or the Fisherman Suplex as your finisher?
I really dug the Fisherman Suplex because I was a big Kurt Hennig fan.
Okay.
And it just looked good. It was just a good looking move, and you're supposed to be able to do your finishing move on anybody.
Right.
So to do a Fisherman, suplex on Tony Atlas ain't so easy. You know what I'm saying? But if you can do it, you look real powerful.
Yeah.
And really, if the guy just gives you a little bit of push, it makes you look real strong and real powerful. So it was a good one. They gave me the Luthez press one time, and I wanted to kill myself. That's the hokiest, pokiest looking move. And that it actually gets put over. But to me, I thought it looked just horrible.
I mean, as a finisher, I never understood how that was beating anybody.
It was my finish, brother.
Yeah, I always liked how Austin did it, because he would hit you with it and just start beating the crap out of it. Yeah.
But now he never cover you.
Right.
And
but he didn't cover you. He just hit you. It's a good, almost like a cross body.
Yeah.
But they just start beating you up. Now I like that too.
Yeah.
But mine was for a finish.
Yeah.
It was like,
So somehow
You
I missed
you
you
gotta
doing
hit
it
the
as a kid.
guy, and then you gotta hook him. It
Yeah.
just looked funny. It just looked
Yeah.
almost stupid,
Mm-hmm.
like not gay, but it just looked hokey pokey,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
you know, to be a finisher.
because I think the last person I remember using as a finisher was Tommy Rich
Yeah.
Yeah.
back in the day, and I was always thinking,
That's how they sold
Yeah.
me on doing it. They were like, "Hey, man, Tommy Wildfire Rich did this," and I was like, "I don't give a damn who. It looks horrible."
Yeah. It's
I was
like that's
you got to be kidding me.
that's not a finisher.
No, it's just not. But
Yeah.
I did like that move a lot. But the Blockbuster, I was a huge Rick Rude fan, huge.
Yep.
And instead of doing just how he used to slowly turn you
turn them up, and
Yeah.
and then
and then drop you,
Yeah.
Well, instead of I couldn't do it like that because I don't want to exactly copy him. You want to be different.
Yeah.
So I came up with doing it off the ropes. And it just came out. Me and Scotty Riggs did it in the hotel room on hotel room beds. and I swear to God, that's how we practiced it. And we went to Cedar Rapids the next day. We were in Cedar Rapids.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when we pulled up with the blizzard and was on all the garbage trucks with the NWO flag.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was
I remember that. Yeah.
It was one of the coolest entrances in the world. And it was just a bunch of garbage trucks with NWO flags going, and a blizzard was going on, man. And it was just really, really cool. But that was the first time I hit the Blockbuster ever. And we didn't even practice it. The first time I ever did it on TV was that match. Ever. We never practiced it or anything. We practiced it in a hotel room.
Right. But never in the ring.
Did it in the ring, off the ropes. It could have been a disaster, but I completely nailed it, and it worked. And there it went.
And it's one of the coolest looking finishers ever. It really is.
Yeah.
Turned out good, and you can do it to anybody.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, as far as like gimmick matches, and I'm going to ask you about one particular gimmick match, but I'm just going to say, what were some of your favorite types of gimmick matches, like cage matches or bull ropes or whatever?
To be honest with you, I hated gimmick matches because they just were too hard to make look real. I mean,
Gotcha.
The one where you had to drag the guy to all four corners and tag the corner with the rope. Like that looks hokey pokey. Cage matches always look stupid. You try to throw them against the fence and people bouncing off and acting like it hurt them. And so, I've only been in one good cage match ever. And that was when the NWO, we hit Ric Flair with the door and all that. We tied
War Games. Yeah.
Tied up Chris Benoit from the top chain thing. That was cool. That was a good one. But I'm not a big gimmicky guy. I'm just not. Even when I beat Piper, we did the boxing match.
Mm-hmm.
And it just, I beat him. I beat Roddy Piper. Who can say that? And I mean,
Right.
So I was thrilled to do that, but at the same time, it just wasn't. What I was, exactly, looking to do. I just didn't like the gimmick stuff. I like the straight matches.
Actually, I think that match would intrigue me anyway, because you're also a former Golden Gloves boxer, correct?
Yeah, I won the Golden Glove State Championship in Georgia when I was 12.
Yeah. So,
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. So you've been punching people in the face since you were 12.
That is incredible.
And think about this. And I had two older brothers, so kids would come out like this. I swear to God. That's how kids I fought. And I'm over there going. I'm like a pro boxer,
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And the guys are going, with their heads. I was 61-1, bro. I was 61-1, but they changed it. I was small for my size, for my age, and they went by weight.
Mm-hmm.
So They didn't go by age; they went by weight. So pound for pound, I was 61-1. Then they went to age, and I started getting rattled. So I was gonna take a year off and come back. But think about it, that at 12, a year off, and you're in high school.
Yeah.
So a year off. Now I'm playing baseball, football, and doing all my favorite sports. So boxing was just a thing that just happened to happen because we were friends with the coach, and it was called East Cobb Boxing, and he owned a store on the road we lived on, and he talked us into getting me into boxing, and I ended up winning the state championship boxing, going to the state championship boxing matches.
So, and then Piper was a Golden Gloves boxer as well. So, I mean, that
he was, that was, like I said, we went out, saying, look, don't throw no punches here. Let's make this look right. So we, and the gimmick was he sprayed some hot stuff on his gloves, and it was burning my eyes and all that.
Right.
It was a gimmick, but still, we didn't pull them. We tried to make it look, really try to hit each other. So we didn't want to look stupid, and it could look, you can look real stupid on live TV with boxing gloves on. So we had to really pull, we had to really, hit each other, or we were going to look dumb.
Right.
So we put it in there, and he was, and Piper's a badass, so it was a real deal.
So the match when they had your mom up on a forklift, how did that even?
That was coming.
Well, how did that even come about? Because
I was going to say, whose idea was that?
Vince Russo.
Oh,
Why did I not?
There's
Yep, there it is.
Vince Russo who came up with that.
Yeah.
Who came up with my mom, believe it or not, was Rick Steiner. His idea was to bring my mom on TV, because my mom was really super cool. She just passed away probably 6 weeks ago, but she was super, super cool. And she ran a lumber business in the 70s and 80s with 300 men employees.
Wow.
How many women truck drivers do you think there were?
There's not a lot even now.
None.
Yeah.
So truck drivers and things would walk in all cocky because it was a woman. And then all of a sudden they were going.
It's like, yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. So she would dog cuss you. She cussed like a sailor. She ran that ship, brother, tight. And we were flat out millionaires in the 70s and 80s. We made $1 million. The company netted, not gross, netted $1 million a month.
Oh,
wow.
For 17 years, bro. And my father is in the NHRA Hall of Fame.
Really?
Now, if you're not into drag racing, that's not a big deal. But if you're into drag racing, that's a big deal. It's in the National Hot Rod Association, the NHRA Hall of Fame, bro. So that's a big deal. So if you look up Steve Bagwell, he is in the Hall of Fame as a drag racer. So I had a family that just was very different, and we were just rich rednecks. But we had tons of heat because we were all good looking, we were all good athletes. So it just instantly brought the heat, And then when I get into wrestling, they want to act like I just learned what the word heat is. I said, let me tell you what they call heat in Marietta, boys. I said, they call it jealousy.
Yeah.
I said, so don't try to swerve me with a new word called heat. I said, that's just a word y'all came up with called jealous. I said, that's all that is. You know, y'all just want to call it heat to be different and be cool.
Well, so where have you been able to travel? Go ahead.
The forklift thing was.
Oh, yep.
That was just. That was one thing I was. Matter of fact, that was the last. You know, that was the very, very last pay-per-view. That was very, very, very WCW's last.
Was it
Sin?
Was it Sin?
I can't remember, but it was in Vancouver. It was in Vancouver, and I wrestled the boy that killed himself. That came out like Diamond Dallas Page.
Canyon. Chris Canyon.
Chris Canyon.
You actually just tweeted about him today, actually, and I saw that, and he was a great wrestler. He really
was a great
man.
worker, you know, and just over the homosexual thing, which was nothing. It wouldn't have been nothing to us. And none of us knew it anyway. It didn't matter. He was a great worker, and we liked him, but I think it just had a personal battle going on with it, and it just ate him up.
Man, as far as like travels, because you mentioned being in Vancouver, but where else have you been able to travel, like in the world outside the U.S.?
Oh, dude, I mean, without exaggeration, the best way to say it, I can tell you everywhere, but I've traveled the world probably. I know I've traveled the world twice. I've been to Japan 17 times. I've been to Germany probably 15. I've been to Switzerland, Ireland, Dublin. Dublin, Ireland. God, I've just been everywhere, dude. There's not where. All over Japan several times on tours. It just is nowhere with Thailand. We wrestled in Thailand I wrestled Steve Law. Jerry the King Lawler in Thailand. We're just everywhere, dude. So literally putting all joking aside, I remember being in Switzerland and seeing like the best looking women in the world, and they'd lay back on the bench and had more hair under their arm than I did. It was that hair thing, man. It was weird. Yeah, we had a lot of fun in Germany. Germany had the red light districts, and you could always go over and party in the red light districts, and anything went over there, bro. They literally had women in windows, and you would just walk up. You'd actually walk up and just point at the window, and you went downstairs and did your deal.
Wow.
It was a blast. It was unbelievable.
Were you on that North Korea trip?
Yeah.
Wow. So how was that?
It's just unbelievable. I don't, if I'd have been any older, I'd have been in trouble too. I was just too young and too scared and too green, and just stayed out of the way.
Yeah, because that's one country I don't think I'd ever want to step foot in.
I did South Korea too. I did South Korea also with Sting and everybody. So we did South Korea also. Not for WCW. It was for believe it or not, an independent promoter called Ricky. His name was Ricky Nelson, and he did South Korea. And I'm talking about buses that had, plastered with our faces all over them. And I was on the whole back of, one of the buses, double bicep and all that. It was just really cool. It was well done. And, but we were everywhere, man. We were just all over the world. Australia, remember after WCW ended, the WWA started up, World Wrestling All-Stars.
Yep.
With, Andrew McManus, and we wrestled anybody that Vince didn't have worked for the WWA.
Yeah, because Sting and Luger were there.
Oh yeah, Sid, Sid, Steiner, Sting, Luger, me. I mean, Jeff Jarrett. I mean, like I said, if Vince didn't have you, you were in the WWA because there wasn't no TNA yet.
Yeah.
There wasn't nothing yet, bro.
Right.
So WWA was the very first thing to take over after WCW was gone and WWF was solo.
How was it being in the NWO? Because I mean that for that time that was like the hottest thing in wrestling. What was that like?
Just priceless. I remember the day I got hired, and there Kevin Nash came and told me. He walked in and said, "Hey, do you want to be in the NWO?" I went, "Are you kidding me?"
Like, is that even a question?
Absolutely. So it was in Salisbury, Maryland, and it was the same night, if you remember, where that's when Eric came out and did the start today. You've got 30 days to join the NWO or you're fired.
Yeah, because he said because he was like, you're either with us or against us. Yeah,
you're with us or you're against us. That's when me and Scotty Riggs come walking out. Yeah, I remember that. I turned on Scotty with Rick Rude's Rude Awakening.
Yep.
And turned on him there and then there went Buff. Buff was off to the races. Nick Patrick thought of my name.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we were on the flight home from Seattle, and we were trying our best. We just knew it was time to drop the Marcus Alexander Bagwell thing. It just wasn't cool enough, you know. It was just time to come up with something like The Rock, you know, Stone Cold.
And it worked for you. It worked when you were a babyface, but it wasn't going to work when you were a heel.
No, exactly. And then when I did the haircut with it though, oh, bro, it just set it off, you know. And so I had the Caesar cut with the name and all that, and then Buff was just, you know, it was.
Where'd you get the idea for the like your ring gear, especially like the top hats? I see you're wearing one now.
The top hat, bro. The top hat's what gets booked. I go where the top hat goes. I tried to drop it. I tried to drop the top hat and move on without the top hat. And I remember showing up to a show without my top hat. And the guy goes, where's your top hat at? And I go, well, I didn't bring it. He goes, you didn't bring your top hat? He says, well, hell, why don't you just shave your goatee while you're at it? And I was like, well, bro, I didn't, you know, I didn't know, you know. So I learned from that day on, look, that's the box that goes in.
Gotcha. Okay.
I've even got a hat box I carry it in. You can't just pack a top hat.
Right. Yeah.
So, but how that came about was we were just, I'm a hat freak, and we were in Lids.
Yeah.
That was the cool hat place.
Yeah, I like Lids.
And my wife goes, why don't you try that top hat on? Just joking around. And I tried it on, and she goes, that looks really good on you. And then my mom thought of, she thought of that, which was cool. And it just took off. Of course, all the boys at first made fun of it and dogged me out and all that. But then all of a sudden, now who's laughing, you know?
Yeah, but then it got over, and they were like, okay.
Now it's on action figures, you know?
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So it worked. It worked. And you can't, hey, and guess what? You'll never see nobody copy it.
Yeah.
No. You know what they'll say, hey, that's that Buff Bagwell guy used to wear one of those.
Yep.
It'll never be nobody else's gimmick. You can't just steal something like that. You can't. It's just forever. That'll be tied to me forever. You know? And that's pretty hard to find in this business, and to break some kind of mold like that, you know. And I did, and that was cool, you know. So we had a lot of fun with that.
Yeah, Dwayne, that's an idea for our next piece of merch. We need to get a top hat.
Top hat.
Yeah, because right now, let's see, we have the travel mug, we have the shirts, I have the phone case, I got the mask, got that right when they were saying we're going to have to wear masks again. And so I had
Oh
that,
yeah,
so
you gotta have the mask,
yeah. And, but I never thought of a top hat.
dude. I didn't either. I said my wife thought of it. My wife thought of it, and then see at the time, that's when I broke my neck.
Mm-hmm.
So we tried to. I was trying to come up with ideas to keep me alive,
Right.
because Scotty was so freaky and looked so good, and here I was, broken neck and lost 50 pounds.
Right.
Ooh.
So I'm trying to, stay alive, cover up.
Mm-hmm.
That's where the overalls came from.
Okay.
Remember the overalls?
Yep.
So I would cover up, trying to cover up until I got my size back.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I got ripped, I couldn't get out of those overalls fast enough, bro. I go to the ring because the overalls were cool.
Mm-hmm.
I go to the ring, and just as fast as I could get out of them damn things, I was out of them. Trying to show my abs.
It's like I did all this work to get back in shape.
Yeah, I did all this work, and I'm hiding it. But it was good. It was cool, man. It was a good run.
So correct. Excuse me. Throughout your career, I'm sitting there looking at a list of like basically everywhere you've been. It seems like you get some kind of gold, some kind of title, whether it's a singles title or a tag title. But I notice you've also been part of the PWI 500. I mean, that's to me is super cool.
Yeah, it is. That's a big deal. That's a big deal for sure. And you know what though was weird is like I told you before, I never really got like. It blew my mind that I didn't get more credit with the big boys.
Mm-hmm.
It really did blow my mind. I mean, I kind of did. I mean, I beat Ric Flair and Roddy Piper back to back, and then the third week was in Atlanta, Georgia, and I'm wrestling David Flair. And he beats me.
I remember that.
Oh,
yeah.
85,000 people at the Georgia Dome.
Georgia Dome. Yep.
75,000 got Buff Bagwell signs, and David Flair came and run the ropes, and he beats me. And I just couldn't believe it. I mean, you beat Piper, you beat Flair, and then they pull that rug right back from you. Oh, we got to slow him down. You got to back him off a little bit. So, and you know what bothered me about that? I could care less about losing to David Flair. What bothered me about that is our company was stupid enough to let 85,000 people be upset because we were the very first match. When I came walking out, that roof came off the place, bro. And there's signs everywhere, and Buff Daddy and Buff Bagwell, the first match of the night show in Atlanta. We're at the Georgia Dome, and not Phillips. We're at the Dome, brother.
Mm-hmm.
And then David Flair, all those red cheeks he had.
Yeah,
he couldn't even run the ropes. Dude. I literally had to pin myself. I had to get his arm and hook it under my leg and pin myself. It was horrible. It was horrible.
I couldn't believe that they had that many people in the Georgia Dome and they gave it away on free TV.
I know.
I mean, that whole the whole card should have been on pay-per-view.
Oh, without a doubt.
Especially with
well, think about this. They put me and Booker. They put me and Booker in Tacoma, Washington, and called it the first match of the invasion. All that's fine. All that's fine. But guess where the next week was?
Georgia?
Atlanta.
Atlanta? Yep.
So now let me ask you a question. If you're Vince McMahon You're Vince McMahon. You just bought WCW. Are you going to put Booker T and Buff Bagwell in Tacoma, Washington, or are you going to wait a week and put them in Atlanta?
And see, that's something Steve and I have talked about, because that's like Tacoma. That's WWE country, and it's like,
So it's almost like, see, me and Booker knew that night there was something up.
Yeah.
They weren't going to ever do WCW.
CW,
no, they weren't.
No,
we knew that night. Nobody else just did.
Yeah.
But we knew that night because the next week was Atlanta and how they were doing the finish and everything. We knew that night. And we're talking, of course, with our mouths over our face like this, with our hands over our mouths, talking. But we knew that night that it was over.
Right. Yeah. It's like,
I had to play along.
Yeah. It's like everybody.
And then the next week I get fired, and they make a lie up saying my mom called to get me out of some shows.
Yeah, I've seen that over the years.
Come on, man. Who the hell is going to do that? Hey, Mom, will you call? I mean, think about this. Here's what you haven't thought about. I wrestled Booker T that night with 25 staples in my head from Helms hitting me with a water bottle. Because that happened before me and Booker's match.
Oh, wow. Okay. Because I'd heard about that incident. I thought it was after the match. I didn't realize it was before the match.
That was us. We were going to school to learn how to run, to get used to the 20-foot ring.
I was actually going to ask you about that. How hard was it to adjust from the 18x18 to the 20x20?
Really hard, because not only was it 20 foot, it was a real rope, a real true rope.
Okay. Yeah.
And WCW was a cable, a steel cable with garden hose around it and tape. So you went from 18 foot and to 20 foot and
yeah.
So it was really, really weird. I mean, if you weren't careful, you go to leapfrog somebody and land right in front of them. I'm like, whoa, hey, what's up, man?
Yeah. That would have been a perfect time for the double bicep, though.
Yeah, it would have been.
Oh,
so yeah, but it was So Helms hits me in the back of the head. They had to get a Sharpie to color where my hair was missing. And I wrestled Booker T, but then the rumor comes out that my mom called to get me out of some shows. Who does that when they're trying to make it in the WWF?
Yeah, yeah.
Like, come on, man. I mean, and here's what killed me. People bought it. They believed it. So I literally changed my story to, okay, look, let's say the crazy bat lost her mind. And she did it and didn't tell me and lied to me. I go, you fired Buff Bagwell over that? Hey, Buff, tell your mother to quit calling us. Hey, Buff, that ain't how we wrestle matches here. And your match wasn't that tight with Booker. It needed to be tighter. There was never a warning. It was just get out. In Atlanta, and fired me in Atlanta. I was like, what? So I was just a sacrificial lamb to show the locker room that they needed to start getting along because they weren't going to put up with it. And it worked because they said, hey, guys, they just fired Buff Bagwell in Atlanta. So you may want to just everybody start getting along and just let's stop the shenanigans,
Yeah.
So I was definitely the sacrificial lamb, but they used, for whatever reason, they used me to do the saying that my mom called in, and the sad part is I ain't got no witnesses. I mean, Jim Ross calls me at home one day, tells me that, you know, to take the weekend off and just rest your head. And we got big plans for you on Monday. But we got 3 witnesses, bro. Me, Jim Ross, and God. And God ain't showing up for this one. So I ain't going to win the battle. So everybody believed Ross, and I couldn't believe it, but they actually bought it. People really believe that Jim, that our mom called to get me out of shows. I just couldn't believe they believed it, but they did.
Well, I know one show I'm going to see you at this coming Saturday up in Chillicothe. I'm going to be there because I've already bought my photo op with y'all.
All right, I'll be there, brother.
Yes, sir. And I even got a shirt for you as long as it arrives in the mail for me to bring to you. You know, so you'll have a nice armchair booking T-shirt.
I love it. I love it.
But are you selling the hat?
Oh no, man! It's, you know, to be honest with you, I've only sold one.
Really?
And the only reason I sold it was the guy was kind of a smart aleck, and he said, "How much?" He goes, "How much you selling the hat for?" And I said, "Hat's not for sale." He goes, "Everything's for sale." I said, $5,000, and he came out with $5,000.
Yeah, I'd have sold the hat.
I took my hat.
Yeah.
There you go, my brother. Thank you very much. So, but yeah, the top hat just is something that's really, the honest to God, every show I go to, I get asked, "Do you got your top hat? Do you got your top hat here? Your top hat here?" You know, and it's just an absolute must that, you know, my top hat goes wherever I go.
And Joel, I just not thought of something. Buff is the very first person I think I've ever met that I've actually played him as a character in a video game.
I know, right?
I mean,
you're right. Yeah.
I love it. I remember not knowing how popular we actually were yet. I remember realizing that we just were wrestlers and didn't really know that we were over yet.
Mm-hmm.
And I came home and I had a big mansion. I built a big mansion in Woodstock, Georgia, and I had a big theater room. And my nephews were down in the theater room, and I walked by the theater room and I see me on TV, and they're playing a video game with me, and they're both me. And I went, what is that? And they go, "Oh, we're playing you, Uncle Mark." And I went, you're doing what? And all of a sudden I go up, look at the mail, and there's a $40,000 check in the mailbox. If you were just, even Doug Dillinger, our security guy, got $40,000. If you were on the video, you got $40,000.
Man.
So it was a big deal.
Yeah, because I know WCW NWO Revenge, that was, to me, that's still one of the best wrestling games ever.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. It was one of the best ones.
Now, did you ever play the game yourself, or did you play it very often? Or
no, never, not one time did I play it. I swear to God. Not once.
Oh, I mean, because that'd be weird. Because I'm playing the game, I'm playing me.
I think that's why. I just
just too weird. Huh?
Weird, man. I can't. I mean, think about this. Wrestling was so cool that we could watch it on TV, and we could watch it on TV. Hey, buddy. We could watch it on TV and it not be stupid.
Right.
It'd be okay because wrestling was so cool. But playing a video game and somebody walk in and catching you playing your video game and you're playing yourself, I'm not sure you can explain that one. I'm not sure you can explain that one. Watching
Right.
yourself on TV is one thing. Watching yourself play video games is another.
So you have a ton of appearances I'm seeing coming up.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you're definitely keeping yourself busy, even with the crutches and everything.
I'm staying busy, which is good, and
Yep.
just trying to it's hard, man, out there now. You know, I mean, it's just I can't get my knee well, man. I don't know what it is. It's the longest I've ever had with an injury. I mean, like I said, I made it back after a broken neck.
Mm-hmm.
I made it back I was back on TV in 3 months. Now I couldn't wrestle for 10.
Right.
Still in 10 months, this has been 16 months, bro. And I'm still on crutches. So I decided it just won't heal. And this past weekend, I was at the signing in LaGuardia.
Right.
And just no crutch, no nothing. And then woke up yesterday morning and was just completely crippled. I guess overdoing it, or
Probably, yeah.
It just won't quite heal, man. It said it was going to be a year-long thing, and we're 4 months past that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be every bit of 2 before I'm even able to wrestle again.
Right.
But see, you're talking about I'll still just be 52. I mean, I'm not worried about that. I'm just worried about just getting back. I want to start wrestling again.
Wow. But and I'm guessing you're also a big Bulldog fan, and you're pretty happy about their. Now I'm seeing on your shirt.
Yeah, see the Georgia shirt on.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they I was real proud of them. They did good, man. The first time they've won it in a long time, and Bama seems to always get them, and they end up winning it this time. So I'm glad.
And turn around, and then the Braves won.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's been a pretty good year for Georgia sports.
Yeah, it has.
So,
it's been a real good year for us, man. So we've had a good one, bro.
Yeah. So, Dwaylen, you have any more questions for him? I mean,
No,
we don't get a chance to speak to Buff Bagwell very often.
Right.
Oh,
No,
man,
I think
that's what's so cool about it, man.
No, I think you covered everything. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. I appreciate you coming on the show.
I love it. I love talking. I can't tell you the times we've all gotten wrestling. We've all gotten cars, and it'll be like me, Luger, Steen, Norton, or somebody, 4 or 5 guys in one car, whether we had a little minivan or Cadillac or whatever. And we'd always say, listen now, before we take off, absolutely no wrestling talk. Let's just don't talk about wrestling. 3 hours later, we had talked wrestling the entire ride was nothing but wrestling.
I mean, that's your life, so it's like, of course, you're gonna talk about it. I
mean, it just, as soon as we got in the car, it came out, and it just wrestle. I'm like, wow, what's the odds on that?
Actually, I know the last question I always ask anybody we interview, because you talk about road trips, perfect segue into it. You must be reading my mind. So when you're on a road trip, what is on your music playlist when you're on a road trip?
You realize music playlist wasn't really around when we were really, really, really traveling.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
So I don't really have I'm not a big, I mean, like I got like the apps, and I got an iPhone and all that. But the only time I really listen to music is this is only because it's illegal to talk,
Right.
That's the only reason I even got these.
Yeah. You gotta have hands free. Yeah.
You gotta have hands free, and then but the only time I listen to music is when I'm working out.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only time. So I don't really have a playlist. I just don't. Just
whatever.
It was never that big. It was never that big a deal to us because we always talked. It was always fun for us to talk.
Right.
Always,
well, and you probably didn't travel.
A case of beer and talked.
Yeah. And you, back then, y'all probably didn't, y'all always traveled together. Like you didn't really travel by yourself. And so you didn't really have that need for
think about it.
Yeah.
I mean, you're never by yourself. So if the radio went up, it went right back down and somebody asked a question.
Right.
Right. You turn the radio back up and it went back down and somebody asked another question. So the radio was never even on, I don't think, when we were together, because we were just all talking about wrestling.
Yeah.
So, well, I don't have anything else. I mean, this has been an absolute blast.
I love it, man. I really enjoyed it. And thank you guys so much for having me on the show. And I really enjoyed it. And like I said, it's always fun because with me, it's so easy because I hate, not giving everybody, what they want to hear. And the reason why my podcasts, I feel like are so good are because they're so true.
Right.
Like right now, if you played back 100 podcasts that we just had, every question y'all just asked me, the answer would be exactly the same and with exactly the same tone. And that's because it's the truth.
Right.
It's easy not to mess up when you tell the truth.
Yep.
If you lie, you mess up real easy.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's why you don't see no pen and pad with my hand or trying to figure it out. When you get me on a podcast, you get Buff Bagwell 100% in every direction. So it's just the best way to do it.
Yep.
I'll tell you, I'm gonna tell our other podcasting buddies, hey, y'all need to go talk to Buff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Get him on your show.
I got friends to this day that'll call me up and go, hey man, I just wanted to call you for a few minutes just to talk to somebody that would tell the truth, talk to me truthfully for a few minutes.
Oh, there you go.
I really got friends like that that'll call me they just want to hear somebody talk to them that'll tell the truth. Right. Over the phone and know that they're getting exactly the truth and not a bunch of bull crap, Well, I just always been like that.
Dwayne's a man after our own heart right there. Cause I mean, we've always said the same thing.
Yep.
Just tell the truth. That way you don't have to worry about trying to cover for yourself.
Oh my God. And like I said, please understand the not lying thing is not because I'm a good guy. It's because I'm a bad liar. And I realized that a long time ago, I realized, look, dude, you're not any good at this. So your best bet is to not look stupid and just tell the truth.
I tell my kids that because none of my children are good liars. It's like I can see it on their face as soon as they try to lie. I'm like, do not lie. It is not your strong suit. Just tell the truth.
My ex-wives would say, they'd ask me a question and they could wait. I mean, they could wait a couple of hours and re-ask me the same question and I'd mess it up. And so I realized I ain't no good at this. So I might as well just come clean with it.
I might as well just tell the truth and
just come out of the gate with it, bro, and ride it out, brother.
Well, we definitely like hearing the truth from you today, and this has been awesome.
Thank y'all so much. I really appreciate it, man. And I'll say anytime you want me, I'd love to do it again.
All right.
Awesome. And I'll be seeing you this Saturday in Chillicothe.
See you in Chillicothe.
All right, man. God bless.
See you later, man.
Okay.
All right.
Peace out, brother.